Boylan.
My Lords, I rise to speak to Amendment 55A, standing in my name. My Lords, there are many excellent provisions in this bill requiring regulators to share information. They're required to share information with regulators at home, with regulators abroad, and with people who wish to be qualified to achieve qualification to practice in this country. But there's nothing in the bill which requires the sharing of information with people who are already practising the profession in this country. And indeed, there is nothing in the amendment just spoken to by the noble lady, Lady Randerson, which, although it expands the requirement for information sharing, doesn't touch on my point. Now, it might be thought otiose to have such a requirement where a regulator is also a membership body, because it could be assumed that it would naturally speak to its members and communicate with them. But it isn't always the case that the regulator is a membership body. I remind noble lords that at second reading I said that I was an honorary fellow of the Royal Institute of British Architects, and I'm grateful to the RIBA for discussions about this topic. The RIBA is a membership organisation representing its profession, but it does not regulate the architectural profession. As noble lords will know from other parts of the bill, that is a function reserved by statute to the Architects Registration Board. And experience is that standalone statutory regulators do what is required of them by statute and very little else. And that is why a nudge is needed, and this amendment achieves that. What this clause would do is allow professional practitioners to know what agreements regulators were actually pursuing, what mutual recognition agreements were in the pipeline. It would allow them to know what progress had been made and what the timeline for the agreement is. And it would also provide a clear path for professional practitioners to have their views on how agreements should be prioritised to be made known to the regulator. Remarkably, without this amendment, there is no statutory obligation on a regulator to have any communication with regulated professionals at all. Why does it matter? To take the example of architects, British architects, of course, are known to lead the world, and they work on projects, major projects throughout the world, often working with our also world-beating civil engineers throughout the world on transport and infrastructure, other major projects like that. And they earn a great deal of export earnings for us too, as a country. When they're doing this, they need to be able to send architects to work in other parts of the world. They also need, on occasion, to be able to employ architects in this country who are from those countries where a pipeline of work might be developing, to have specialist knowledge of regulations, be it planning or whatever, that apply in the country where the project is being delivered. And they're very commercial architects, so they look ahead. They have to be commercial because it's a harsh commercial world in which they operate. They look ahead, they see a pipeline of activity in a particular country that might be coming forward with new projects, new airports, new infrastructure, whatever it might be. And they want to be able to have some influence on their regulator as to how mutual recognition agreements might be prioritised so as to facilitate capturing that work. Now, I've used architects as an example, but there are other professions that might find themselves in a similar situation that would want to have that two-way flow with their regulator, and not being a membership organisation would need, in my view, the help of statute to ensure that that communication took place. This is so modest and so commonsensical a suggestion that I hope my noble friend will be able to rise and simply say that he accepts it.